And we're back, everybody, for another installment of my Clone Wars retrospective reviews. And oh boy, we've got one that I'm always left a little conflicted on for a couple of reasons that I'll get into shortly. But before we get into that though, I just wanted to thank every single one of you that has supported my channel so far. And I hope you'll stick around because I've got plenty more that I want to review and talk about in the near future. And in light of the growth that I've received on the channel recently, I'm making a little addition to the weekly schedule by adding the Bad Batch as a series review due to the new season arriving in the opening days of 2023. Holy shit, how have we made it this far?
It's okay, buddy. Just a few more minutes and we're good until spring, okay?
But it doesn't make any sense.
Think of it this way. We'll get the hour back later in the year.
I'm also considering looking back into the MCU and possibly Community, as it's one of my favourite comedy shows.
I want to have an opinion about those boring-ass Marvel movies.
But I'll put up a poll in the near future to see what a lot of you might prefer. Until then though, I'll be covering whatever's new, like The Guardians Holiday Special, Bad Batch Season 2, Mando Season 3, and Secret Invasion whenever that arrives.
And that's the Winger Guarantee.
Let's not waste any more time though and get straight into why you clicked onto this video, and that's to hear why I think this is one of the more underwhelming but interesting arcs in the Clone Wars series.
Cool.
We're looking at Season 1, Episode 2, titled Rising Malevolence. The premise of this episode is that the Republic are receiving disturbing reports that apparently fleets are going missing or being eviscerated with no trace of what did it. That's where we catch up with Master Plo Koon and his men, who are intercepted by the gargantuan Malevolence, an EMP device that mimics the idea of the Death Star, with even some of the shots replicating the imagery used for the charge-up sequences in the original movie. Master Plo, Commander Wolf, Sinker and Boost are the only survivors from the wreckage, and after a rather dismissive attitude on the other side of things from the Jedi Council, who don't believe it's worth investigating, Anakin and Ahsoka disagree and leap straight into action to investigate the disappearance of Master Plo and manage to rescue him and his men by the end, and successfully escape the Malevolence, becoming the first survivors of the device and reveal the inclusion of the Separatists' new weapon to the Republic. This is interesting for the fact that it introduces a viable setup and early concept for the Death Star, giving a little more credence to the idea that the Malevolence is not just a one-time weapon, but actually a practice run for an electrified projectile. This is where I'm conflicted though. I wasn't hugely into this episode for the pacing, the general plot, and the idea of the Malevolence, of course being a devastating weapon, but rather clunky and lacks the threat when you consider how easily our heroes destroy it in the end. Though, if it really is a precursor to the Death Star, then I guess it works.
Comedy.
The draw for me in this one though is two things. Firstly, the larger understanding that the Jedi Council really don't practice what they preach. They go on about being compassionate but removed from feeling anything, but also to be protective and dutiful but detached. So does this mean that you always leave people in need for the sake of your ideals, or do you actually do your job and support those that need it?
What do you do? What do you do?
There was a possibility that Master Plo could have been alive, and given the numbers of the Jedi by the end of the war, they probably should have done a better job protecting their own anyway. But after repeated attempts from Ahsoka and Anakin to try and reason with the Council to go and investigate, and are repeatedly denied, they go fuck it and toddle off anyway.
Fuck this shit, I'm out.
The other part in this that worked for me was Plo Koon himself. This is possibly one of the only episodes in the entirety of the Clone Wars series that offers a holistic understanding of a character and outlines his motivations, ideals, and beliefs. Where the clones believe themselves to simply be expendable, Plo sees the value in them as individuals as well as an army, and is willing to protect them no matter what, as just because they're clones doesn't mean they're worth any less. If you were watching the Clone Wars for the first time starting with Ambush and then this, you were given a strong sense of importance when it came to the clones, and because the Jedi are designed to be somewhat relatable, you side with them, and the attachment begins for the audiences with the clones because of the understanding we get from the likes of Yoda and Plo Koon. Above all else though, the heart that Plo possesses is almost akin to Qui-Gon, who is considered the appropriate balance for what a Jedi should be, and Plo can recognise the distance that he needs to have between himself and others, but continually supports and protects his men as if he was allowed to care for them like any normal person.
That's adorable.
This extends as well to his relationship with Ahsoka, who is still young at this point and hasn't fully rationalised the concept of compassion without attachment. But in this instance, the support for her was Anakin.
What the hell?
my God!
Surprisingly teaching her this lesson where the council failed, showing his support by reminding her that you should remain loyal to your faith, but can still help and shouldn't be limited by those beliefs when they say you should be compassionate and protective. There was obviously a heavy inclusion from the villains in this one, with both Dooku and Grievous looming overhead for our heroes in the shark-shaped Malevolence, that worked for the visuals of this one like a literal shark in a sea of red. They didn't really do much else other than instruct droids when to fire, but we did get an insight into the expectations that Dooku holds over Grievous to get the job done effectively, and the disappointment he feels when the great general fails.
I respect you. That's why you fail.
Other than that, it's grown on me over time, but as far as it being one of my favourites, it is far removed from that section, but I'll always appreciate what it did with Plo. That's going to do it for me though, everybody. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, don't forget to subscribe on your way out, as I'm running through the entirety of the Clone Wars series. Until next time though, take care, and may the Force be with you.